When you look at a plant, what do you see? Stillness, right? But what if I told you that's just a disguise? That beneath that quiet green exterior, there's a whole world of movement. And some of it is so fast, so complex, it feels like it breaks all the rules of biology. So let's dive into that hidden world together. So, where do we even begin? Well, how about with a plant that absolutely captivated the one and only Charles Darwin? I'm talking about the Venus flytrap. For Darwin, this wasn't just some plant. He called it one of the most wonderful in the world. It was a living puzzle. And honestly, even all these years later, it's still revealing its secrets. And yeah, the biggest secret we're going to uncover here is just raw speed. I mean, forget everything you think you know about plants being slow. We're talking about movements that are sudden, totally dramatic, and, let's be honest, brutally effective. Just look at this number. Less than 1 second. The sheer velocity is what's so mind-blowing. A Venus flytrap slams shut in a fraction of a second. Think about that. That's a trap made of leaves that's fast enough to snatch an insect right out of the air or catch it mid-step. It's just incredible. All right, so how do scientists even talk about this stuff? Basically, plant movements get split into two big buckets. On one side, you've got tropism. That's the slow stuff, like a plant gradually leaning towards a window for light. But what we're seeing here, that's something else entirely. It's called nastic movement. And that means it's fast, it's reversible, and it's a reaction to something like touch. And here's the key part, it doesn't care where the touch came from. It just reacts. So, how does it actually work? I mean, the mechanism is pure genius. Here's the play-by-play. An insect lands and brushes against one tiny trigger hair. Zap, an electrical signal fires. But, and this is the cool part, the plant doesn't do anything yet. It waits. If a second hair gets touched within about 30 seconds, zap, another signal fires. That's the confirmation it needs. Those two signals unleash this rapid change in water pressure inside the leaves. And that pressure change causes the curved leaves to literally snap inside out. Kind of like flipping a contact lens. It's a super cool bit of physics called snap buckling. And listen, the Venus flytrap is not some lonely weirdo in the plant kingdom. Oh no, there's the Mimosa pudica. You might know it as the touch-me-not plant. Its leaves fold up the second you touch them. Then there's the sundew, which basically uses these sticky tentacles like tiny catapults to fling bugs into its trap. And the bladderwort? It's an underwater hunter that uses a crazy fast suction trap. So these aren't just one-off freaks of nature. This is a seriously sophisticated strategy that's popped up all over the place. Which, of course, brings up a massive question. How on earth do they coordinate all this? This speed, this precision, it feels almost animal-like, doesn't it? And that, my friends, is where this whole story gets really interesting. We're about to go inside the plant and explore its secret world of signals. Seriously, how do they pull this off? They don't have muscles, they don't have nerves, so how in the world can a plant coordinate something so fast and so precise? Well, the answer is hiding in plain sight. It's a hidden communication network we're just starting to understand. And what is that network made of? Electricity. Plants use electrical signals called action potentials. And if that term sounds familiar, it should. They are remarkably similar to the nerve impulses firing in your own brain right now. There are these all-or-nothing signals that just shoot through the plant's vascular system, its internal plumbing, carrying messages from one spot to another. Get this, though. This electrical system is so sophisticated, it even has a form of short-term memory. That whole two-touch thing with the Venus flytrap, that's not just a dumb reflex. It's a smart, energy-saving calculation. The plant literally remembers that first touch for about 30 seconds. It's waiting for that second touch to confirm, hey, this is probably a bug and not just a random raindrop. Only then will it spend the energy to snap its trap shut. That's pretty smart. And it turns out it's not just one kind of signal either. Plants have a whole electrical vocabulary. You've got your standard action potentials for non-damaging stuff like a touch. Then you have variation potentials, which are totally different for when the plant gets wounded. And then there are even system potentials, which are these big sweeping waves of electricity for when the plant is just under general stress. It's like they have a whole internal language that we're only now starting to decode. Okay, so let's recap. We've got an internal electrical language. We've got memory. We've got these incredibly complex responses. You see where this is going, right? It all leads to a really provocative and, frankly, pretty controversial idea. Is it possible that plants have something that works just like a nervous system?
And that's the core argument of this whole field that some people call plant neurobiology. Their idea is pretty simple, but it's a big one. They say, what if we define a nervous system not by what it's made of or its evolutionary history, but by what it does? If you look at it that way, if the job is to integrate and send information to coordinate a response, then they argue plants totally fit the bill.
But here is where your jaw might actually hit the floor. It's how they're sending these signals. It turns out plants use many of the exact same chemicals that our own brains use. I'm talking glutamate, GABA, acetylcholine, even serotonin and dopamine. Yes, those ones. The basic building blocks of animal nervous systems are all right there, inside plants. It's like we share this deep, ancient biological toolbox. And no, these aren't just some random chemicals sitting around doing nothing. They have jobs. Let's take glutamate. In our brains, it's the main go signal. While in a plant, if one leaf gets chewed on by a bug, it releases this wave of glutamate that travels all the way to other leaves, basically screaming, "Danger, get the defenses ready." It's a fully functional long-distance alarm system. So you can see how this all boils down to a debate over definitions, really. On one side, you have the classic phylogenetic view. It's all about family trees. It says a true nervous system evolved in animals, period. If you're not an animal, you don't have one. But then you have this other view, the physiological one, which says, hang on, let's focus on what it does. From that perspective, if it acts like a nervous system and communicates like a nervous system, maybe we should just call it a nervous system. And a debate like this, well, it was always going to push us toward an even bigger, even more profound question. A question that kind of leaves biology behind and starts wandering into the territory of philosophy. Okay, let's just ask it. If plants can process information, if they can remember things, if they communicate with the same tools we do, could they think? Could they feel? Is it possible that plants are, in some way we don't understand, conscious? Now, before we get too carried away, the overwhelming scientific consensus on this is a pretty hard no. There's a great quote from a group of biologists that sums it up perfectly. Plants don't think, they grow. All of this amazing behavior is for one thing, survival. It's about adaptation, not feeling or having some kind of inner experience. So what's the logic behind that? Why are most scientists so sure? Well, it all comes down to architecture. Plants have these cool signaling networks, for sure, but they are missing the key hardware for consciousness, at least as we know it. They don't have a brain, they don't have a central nervous system. There's no central command post, no hub where all this information gets pulled together to create a single unified experience. And without that structure, the argument goes, consciousness just isn't in the cards. But look, that is not the end of the story. Just because plants probably aren't thinking doesn't make them any less complex. In fact, for me, it makes them even more mysterious and way more exciting. Right now, we are really just at the beginning of mapping out this incredible information superhighway inside of plants. Researchers all over the world are trying to figure out how plants use this complex network to deal with their environment, to make these life or death decisions every single day. So no, they probably don't think in the way we do. But one thing is for sure, they are anything but simple, passive organisms. They are dynamic, incredibly sophisticated information processing beings. And knowing that, really knowing it, leaves us with one last question to chew on. Does seeing this hidden layer of complexity change how you look at the quiet green world all around you?